Hello and welcome to Connected to India. Today we're joined by Amish Tripathi, whose best-selling Shiva Trilogy, Ram Chandra series, and Indic Chronicles have sold over 6 million copies since 2010. The author, diplomat, and TV host has worked in the marketing and banking sectors and is also currently the director of the Nehru Centre in London and one of the pioneers in bringing ancient Indian myths and culture to the 21st century. He's also a regular at the Jaipur Literature Festival, something we'll be discussing at length during this upcoming interview. Thanks for talking with us, Ami. So let's just start with discussing your latest book, War of Lanka. Now, it's the fourth book in the Ram Chandra series and it was released this October. Um, this is your ninth book overall, I believe. So, what can you tell us about what it felt like writing your ninth book?
It's been a fantastic journey. Uh, it's like living a dream. So I always tell people, don't wake me up. Um, uh, I've written some 10 books in 12 years. And I never thought I was going to be a full-time writer. Blessings of Lord Shiva, love of my readers. From what my publisher tells me, the Shiva Trilogy is the fastest selling in Indian publishing history, fastest selling book series, and Ram Chandra series, of which War of Lanka is the fourth part. Excuse me, it's the second fastest selling ever. It's all the love of my readers. I can't thank them enough. Thank you so much.
This Ram Chandra series is based on the Ramayana, and you've researched it extensively, and there's so many versions of the Ramayana in our culture and even in global culture. If you see, there's the Sri Lankan version, there's the Myanmar version, and the Cambodian version. So, what's your process for passing through the various iterations to come up with your own narrative?
You're right. There are many versions, and the version that most Indians know in the modern day is actually based on a 1980s television serial, which had quite a few differences from the original Valmiki Ramayana. What I do is I have read many of the different versions from the original, and Valmiki ji had written three Ramayans: the Valmiki Ramayana, the Adbhut Ramayana, and the Anand Ramayana. There are three Ramayans that are credited to Valmiki ji, but there are various other versions as well, like the Ramcharitmanas, which is the most popular version in North India. That is the version that's used in the Ram Leela usually. Ramcharitmanas was, of course, composed by Goswami Tulsidas ji. The Kamba Ramayanam, which is the Tamil version, the first of the devotional Ramayans, around 1,000 years ago, and various other versions. And as you said rightly, many Southeast Asian versions as well. I've read many of them, I've heard many of them, and all of them go as kind of research in the back of my mind. The version that emerges is through the blessings of Lord Shiva. So my job is to do as much research as I can, and then a story emerges, which is the blessings of Lord Shiva. I've said it often. I don't think I'm the creator of my stories. I think I'm a witness to the stories. That I'm more of a channel. I open the laptop and I see I see that world and I record what I see, and Lord Shiva opens that world for me.
Moving on, so I believe there's one more book in the Ramchandra series, or will there be more than one? What can you tell us about your upcoming projects, future projects? What else do you have planned?
So, you're right, there is a fifth book of the Ramchandra series, but War of Lanka ends where the Ramayana ends for most modern Indians, which is that Ravan has been killed, the royal couple have returned to Ayodhya. So there is a sense of conclusion out there. The fifth book in the Ramchandra series is something that connects Ramchandra series and the Shiva Trilogy. Ramchandra series can be seen as a 1500-year prequel to the events of the Shiva Trilogy. I will release this book, I think, many years later. But this is something that it'll be the fifth book of the Ramchandra series, and in a way, -1 of the Shiva Trilogy. And this book will be called Rise of Meluha.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the Jaipur Literature Festival. And you're obviously set to appear there again this year. In fact, you revealed the title of the first book in the Ram Chandra series at the JLF 2015, I believe. So
Yes.
now, four books in, what are your feelings about returning?
No, sorry, I've always enjoyed Jaipur Lit Fest. Uh, sort of, I'm not really a regular. There are people who attend every year to speak. I'm not really, I don't really come every year. Uh, it's a little more complicated to come since I'm based in London now. I'm an Indian government diplomat as well. But it is wonderful to return, I think, after nearly 4 years now. I've always enjoyed Jaipur Lit Fest. It is no doubt the greatest literary show on earth. Um, it's wonderful to meet great authors, writers, thinkers. You know, you always want to be in a room where there are many who are smarter than you are, because that's how you learn. If you're the smartest person in a room, then you're not learning anything. You want people around you who are smarter than you are. Jaipur Lit Fest is a wonderful place to be in such a situation. And more importantly, it is wonderful to meet my readers once again. Uh, I did a book tour in India recently in October for War of Lanka. And it'll be, it's kind of topical to come to the Jaipur Lit Fest, and it'll be great fun engaging with the readers. War of Lanka will be launched in the UK as well in March. It's the first time I'll have a proper book tour in March through HarperCollins, my present publisher.
Okay, so you mentioned you're based in London now. In fact, as we've already said, you were appointed as the director of the Nehru Centre in London in 2019. So I'm sure people who watch this would love to hear about the story of how that came about, like how were you approached and how you accepted and what exactly the responsibilities are.
So it's technically a diplomatic role, uh, and I essentially work as an Indian government cultural diplomat. So I travel with a proper diplomatic passport. Though I must always, everyone asks me about diplomatic immunity, and I always tell them don't follow Hollywood movies. That's nonsense. It's not the way diplomatic immunity works. Um, but essentially, I am Minister Culture and Education at the Indian High Commission to the UK and Director of the Nehru Centre. So my remit uh, is to speak on the cultural side. Essentially, we are like the Indian equivalent of what the British Council is in India, and so speak of the Indian cultural narrative, engaging with the British. We have our own building in central London in Mayfair, where we have an auditorium, art gallery, etc., and performing arts, fine arts, literary panel discussions, engaging with think tanks, etc. Essentially speaking of the Indian cultural narrative, we're a cultural outpost. And on the education side, the UK receives a lot of Indian students. And so my department looks after the student issues that students face when they come here. But there is, of course, also a broader strategic uh, uh, element to this as well. We want Indian institutions, educational institutions, to come to the UK. We want British education institutions to come to India. One of as India rises economically, one of the greatest opportunities and challenges is the education of this massive cohort of young Indians. And how do we do that efficiently and better? UK being a central, a very key part of the global education ecosystem. There is a lot to do here. Nehru Centre used to largely do performing arts and fine arts earlier, which we continue. But we've also expanded that because that was in danger of becoming, the last few years, a place where essentially Indians were meeting Indians. So in the briefing, I was told it was becoming more of a ghetto than a cultural outpost, because a cultural outpost should engage with native British. So we've updated the programming to bring in more non-Indians as well. Also moved beyond just performing arts and fine arts. We have book launches, literary discussions. In partnership with think tanks, we do panel discussions, geopolitical discussions, etc. We do student events. So essentially, various things which speak of cultural issues. Culture is not just performing arts and fine arts. It's not just dance and music. And of course, that's important. It's also literary panel discussions, geopolitical discussions, student engagements, engagements with uh, you know the cultural influencers and the native British influencers in the UK as well. That's the kind of work that we do. So we host events at our auditorium. We do exhibitions in our art gallery, etc.
And so, you're a graduate of IIM Ahmedabad, and you
Calcutta.
worked in marketing,
Sorry,
you worked
Calcutta.
as a banker. Calcutta, sorry, my bad.
I'm Calcutta. That's the
And,
better line.
okay, yes. It's the IIM rivalry. Okay, so let's just talk about, I mean, I'm sure you talked about it a lot, but just fresh, I mean, for the last time, how did you make the switch from marketing, banking to writing? And who were your inspirations in developing your entire writing process?
Two different things. One is how did I shift, uh, and the other is writing itself. Writing, as I said earlier, generally is the blessings of Lord Shiva. Uh, I didn't know fiction before Models of Meluha, absolutely nothing. And even today, I still can't explain where the book comes from. Uh, Even after having written 10 books, it just comes as a blessing. So I genuinely believe I am a channel, and my books are the blessings of Lord Shiva. I know there are some, especially in today's modern, cynical world. Uh, there is an approach that what do you mean it's a blessing from the God and all that. I don't care. It's genuinely the truth. At least I believe it's a blessings of our Lord Shiva. Now I don't care what others, what some may think of this. To me, it's a blessings of Lord Shiva. That's as far as writing is concerned. In terms of becoming a full-time writer, that was a pragmatic, practical decision. I was a banker for 14 years. I resigned only after my second book when my royalty check became more than my salary. I come from a middle-class family, so I can't afford to be irresponsible with my career choices. So it was a practical, pragmatic decision. The decision to leave banking and become a writer.
Finally, let's just talk about any message you'd like to send out to your vast majority of readers.
No, I can only thank them for all their love and support. I exist as a writer because of the love of my readers. Sometimes it is tough love, my readers they give me, especially when War of Lanka was delayed a bit. I would get scolded in comments on Instagram, or if I put a picture of me at a holiday or me cycling in Hyde Park or something, I would have my readers commenting, "Why are you wasting time? Go home and write." So sometimes it's tough love, but the love is there. And thank you so much. My apologies if the books have been delayed at times, but I hope to continue to receive your love, and you'll see some more non-fiction books from me in 2023.
Thanks so much, Amish.
Thanks, Susha.